Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr.Z NFT podcast. I'm your co-host, Matt Gazer, co-creator of the Chronicles of Dr. Zammsy franchise. I'm here with my partner, Rolf Kowalczyk, and Gordon Neal, our amazing 3D modeler. And today is a special day. We have actually, I think, our first guest, a surreal artist named Snarskis that has been in the NFT space. And we just wanted to jam talk with him about all things crypto and all things NFTs. So how's everyone doing today?
Hey, good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, doing
Awesome.
well.
Aloha from Hawaii. All good.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
and Scotland also. So yeah.
today's a really special day as well because we're going to announce the official date of our set 3 drop. So all you fans out there that are really excited and been very patiently waiting for this drop, the date is officially coming right now. So get ready. April 29th is the day we will be launching this set. It's been a long time coming. Rolf and I and all of us have been working really hard on this. And so, yeah, one more full month away, but that's the official date. That's not changing. So big news for everyone. The 29th of April.
Never ever.
And a reminder
It's
to everyone to hodl. Hodl for coins.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game.
Because, if I could go back in time, I wish I'd never made any trades or anything. If I had just done nothing from the very first Bitcoins I bought, I'd be better off than trying to get this one, that one, diversify. And this is a big week. Once a year in Miami, they have this big Bitcoin conference. I think this year it's going to be like 5 times bigger than it was last year, and it was 5 times bigger the year before. So, this is, Matt and I are planning on traveling to some conferences soon and probably next year. And I told Matt I really want to be at this one next year. So, this is Bitcoin week.
As well as the one that happened not too long ago in New York. I think that's a pretty important one we should be going to as well. There's all kinds of these events going on all the time. So it's really exciting. I'd love to go to at least
advertising
one.
I've kind of said it from the start, but I think advertising is always good to be our main focus because, the project is so amazing. We just need eyes on it. That's all it really needs.
Yeah.
There's no development really needed. So.
We have special eyes on everything today. So Snarskis, tell us more about yourself, man. How did you get started in NFTs and what's it been like for you?
Oh, hi, everyone. Thank you for having me as a first guest on your podcast. That's exciting. Well, I started, my earlier start was in art school when I was approx like 14, 15 years old. So I went to art school for 6 years, and it was like a traditional academic approach. So basically academic drawing, painting, sculpture, composition. And later I started to study at London's Bank University, digital media arts, where we tried some programming, animation, video editing, a bit of this digital approach to art where you can actually take it and use it for commercial use. Something like, you know how to use editing software, you can actually make a podcast. And to NFTs, I came around last year, around February. And it was first time when I minted my first digital painting.
Nice. That's cool. And what blockchain was that on?
So it was on OpenSea and was Ethereum, and it was really stressful and expensive, but over 3 days without sleeping, transaction went through and it worked.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
I mean, we haven't tried anything really on Ethereum. The audience seems much larger than the audience that we're on right now with the Wax blockchain, but it's been a wild ride for us, ups and downs and everything in between, trying to get things locked in, communication in place,
the learning curve.
And it's constantly changing, like lava coming out of a volcano. It's just, you don't know where it's going to go next.
It keeps you on your toes.
Matt and I started in January last year. We would just meet 1 day a week for like an hour and just, look at some paintings, some story. And then we launched our first set in April of last year. So it's almost been a year since we launched our first set. And it's been a wild ride since then.
There's always a possibility. I was just going to say, I think there's always a possibility for Matt Gazer to be a separate entity to do NFT space stuff as well that could also co-fund, you know, like you could take so much money for yourself and so much money back into the company.
Right.
I think that's always been a great thing that, because Matt's artwork is known worldwide, right? There's so many people know Matt's stuff. And I think him moving into the NFT space, even in Ethereum, as a separate entity from Fabricated Madness, I think would be just as successful as the stuff you're doing right now.
MattGazer.com.
Yeah.
So
MattGazer.com.
yeah, but this is about Snarskis. So like, tell us more what that experience was like for you on Ethereum. I mean, once you launched, did you do well? Did you sell a lot, or did you have to advertise and put more money in to get things to sell? How was that experience for you?
Mm. I think at the very beginning, like you said, and you started in January, February, it was completely different space. I think it was still underground, and I really enjoyed it because you had really fanboys and professionals and enthusiasts of the space, and everyone is amazing. Like you guys as well, we just talk together and we just, without obligation, have a chat. So this is amazing. So I think it's all about this NFT space overall. But once I started to seeing NFT on CNN, Bloomberg, CNBC, I thought, oh my gosh, this is a bit too early. So at the beginning, I really enjoyed it because there was no much information, like no spam, nothing. You just follow the steps and you try to figure out, which wasn't
Right.
too complicated. It was just a bit pricey. But after that, I managed to mint first, and then I thought, okay, I have all these digital assets. So instead of having just as a portfolio somewhere on Behance or Facebook or Instagram, why don't I just move everything there and actually categorize and kind of way of protecting your work as well, because you know your date, you know your where the original was placed. So I thought, okay, let's try at least to do that. And at the beginning, I started to receive a few offers, and overall it was quite good and successful start, and so far it's going quite well. I'm really
Nice.
excited.
Are you doing weekly drops, or are you doing monthly drops, or how are you structuring your releases?
To be honest, I have kind of quite messy way because I'm just one individual. I just work constantly, paint constantly, and upload whenever it is, whatever happens in a social life and a pop culture. I'm trying to reflect a bit on that, because people are more likely to engage on Instagram. But it's constantly work, and then you upload whenever you upload it. I'm very
Oh, okay.
impatient, so I just love just to share it and start another one, share it and start another one. So I'm really
Nice.
bad being patient, like organize a date, announce, try to grow the hype, and etc.
Nice.
My problem in this space, being an artist as well, is trying to manage, being a CEO of an actual company that's trying to make games and an animated series based
Mm,
off this franchise, and networking, emailing, getting on Discord, pay,
administration.
administration, payroll, working with contracts, working with the lawyers, budgets, like just,
The boring stuff.
the boring stuff that's very necessary, but keeps you away from making the art, right? So,
Yeah.
it's been very challenging, but I somehow find a way to still make art.
It's quite a
And
good
just
balance. In a way, you need to move away from the piece. I think, like I say, normally I spend like 8 hours on the piece, but you cannot do it 8 hours straight. You sit down and you do it. It's not like a paperwork. You
Right.
need to move away and look at with your fresh eyes. You have some new ideas and you'll see
Totally.
mistakes that you made.
I actually really enjoy the toggling of doing art related material and doing administrative. I always knew there was a business side of me, and this project has pushed that out of me further. But
Mm,
it is, you're right. As an artist, you can probably relate that taking breaks and working on something else, and then coming back to a piece gives you a fresh new vibe to, like, make it even better or change things. So yeah,
super
totally.
important.
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Go ahead,
the way
Rolf.
I was just going to say, the way Matt and I have sort of structured our series and sets is we have a story to go with every painting. So
Hmm.
that's what you were just mentioning too. Like, I know when we did the collaboration with Hodl God and a couple other things, we would tweak the story a little bit, and then a few days go by, and then Matt would adjust the painting, and then we have the
Hmm.
finished product after thinking about it, and wouldn't it be cool if we add the crystal over here, and then the story changes a little bit. So it's fun. The whole process is really fun.
It's more organized because you have the story, so you have that flow. Basically, you're following your workload, and you know what's gonna happen next and next. So it's makes it easier to organize it and plan it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a wild ride collaborating with other people like Gordon and Rolf and the rest of our team. Kind of a dream come true, a lot is writing on this. I mean, we're putting everything into it. We've invested our own funds into this. We've generated a lot of capital from it, but we're in a place now where we're looking for venture capital. We've got a bunch of meetings with VCs, and we've had some great meetings already with some venture capital. But yeah, I think there's, like you mentioned, there's a lot of spamming and scams out there. I mean, like even in my Discord, every time I wake up in the morning, I've got like 12 new messages from people that are just trying to promote their project, and it's exhausting I just delete them, man. Sometimes I obviously read them because some people are legitimately trying to get a hold of us. But it's just so saturated.
And so
it's crazy, and
Snarkis,
especially Twitter space.
And so Snarkis, is your primary mode with Instagram, or which sites do you use to promote your project?
So my original platform used to be always Instagram. I started, I think, posting it in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. And then joined Twitter recently, purposely only for the news, to follow like Bloomberg's, NBC, and then OpenSea and all the major platforms, and just follow for the news and the other artists. But it's just becoming really saturated, especially in Twitter. It's crazy. Everyone is chilling. I think it really changed from the February when we started. It was like a community, and it didn't feel that you have bots. And now it's just a crazy. You want to talk to real people, but you don't know. Like you mentioned on Discord, it's crazy. You have the invitations, you have the spam messages. It's a bit aggressively.
It's nuts. I know. With great wealth comes great scams. Everyone sees this as like the new gold rush, and I think there's just so many people out there just trying to capitalize on it, whether they're legit or not, right? So it's really hard to separate that.
The platforms like, for example, OpenSea, Rarible, and others, I think they have to really improve the communication, because on Discord, if you would need help, you have so many fake accounts that they're admins, and they approach you and they start asking for keys and everything. So I think they need to work a little bit better to protect the user, because now it's like a wild west, like be responsible and good luck. But you can be approached on those platforms where they're official platforms, but you have so many fake accounts.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, it happened to one of my friends actually recently. He actually had, I don't even think he even know how it happened, but he had most of his crypto stolen. Like somebody had basically got in his wallet and transferred everything out to another wallet. So, scams are definitely apparent through the whole system. But I mean, I think that's one of the things that crypto is kind of lacking at the moment, is that two-factor authentication. I know is there, but a lot of people know about it, and also the fact that wallets are so easy to access by just sending people stuff. So I think it's like anything that's brand new. Like when the internet was first formed, there was so many things that were wrong with it and needed to be fixed and authenticated, and security was a big thing. But then, because crypto is so new, it's facing the same growing pains. So, but I think that they'll work that out. It was the same when it launched last year, and Ethereum was the main income for people using NFT space. But then, of course, as artists and as people who are living this planet, we want to try and reduce the carbon input. So there's a lot of new places that now can offset that. I know when I spoke to Scott Robertson on my podcast, he was talking about working with an NFT project, and he only took the job if they agreed to carbon offset what they were doing. So they would release NFTs, but then they would pay a company to basically offset their carbon footprint for the Ethereum. So for everyone they released or sold, they would then donate so much of that money to a cause that would offset that carbon footprint. So There is a way to do it.
Like
so.
encourage solar power or something.
Yeah, well, basically, the company that they pay, they basically will then donate that money to either a non-profit or people who are working within the field of renewables, who will then be, compensated. So there is a way to offset that, because that was the biggest concern with Ethereum initially, was the carbon footprint. But now that's so. Yeah, so initially it started. There's so many holes and gaps in it, but as we go further on, it's starting to get more and more efficient.
I watched a recent show. I don't want to say the name, but the gal that was on there, she was part of like security for just the internet, and I think she wrote some book, I forget, but what she was saying is like banks really do have it down, where like if like scammers could come in and just wipe out your bank account like people are doing with our wallets and crypto, people would freak out and the whole banking system would completely crash because it wouldn't be stable, right? And yet with crypto, being the new future of our economy, in the next 100 years throughout, this kind of stuff just needs to be cleaned up, because it's not stable, it's not secure, it's just scary as hell.
Well, it's I mean, Bitcoin is the most secure thing of all time. I mean, we can have a little chat about security. I mean, I feel like anyone who wants to get into this space, the first thing you should learn about is how to secure your stuff. And probably the most important thing is to sort of spread it out in different wallets. And the one you're actually using should not have like all of your funds in it. The one that's, on the website or whatever. So, because we've known now that there are hackers. So if they get a control of your one wallet, they only got the few Ethereum that were in there, not your whole load. So, I mean, for me, I have a bunch in the Celsius network, which has never been hacked. And that's where you can earn an interest on you put your Ethereum, your Bitcoin in there, and they give you every week, they give you interest on your coins. And the security is just insane on that one. And then when you have a phone or an email, you want to just make sure you, again, diversify. Like, I mean, I have 3 different phones. My personal phone that I talk to all my friends and family with is not the phone I use to do crypto. Like, I mean, I can do a link to some other sites just to learn about security, but again, on the internet, everything's a scam until proven not a scam. That's just everyone should sort of have that mentality with the way things are these days.
Trust no one. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
the space is evolving. Just being, I think, a bit more cautious, but definitely I think the space is evolving to a point where, like, it's going to eventually become very stable, and it will, the platforms like OpenSea and stuff like that. I mean, we were talking about DeviantArt the other day because there's a whole upchuck about ArtStation, but DeviantArt invented a bot basically within their system so that when people's artwork was being stolen and uploaded to OpenSea or any other platform, DeviantArt's bot was catching that and then taking it down through OpenSea requests. So there is things that are getting put in place now that are getting more and more up to date that will protect artists. I mean, people use the excuse that, you should have got on top of it and then been on top of it and been putting your artwork up early and being part of it, which I understand there is that part of it, but also we don't want to be people, be susceptible to being their stuff stolen. So there has to be a balance.
I think it's just incredible that like a project like Axie Infinity, right, just recently announced that like $636 million worth of crypto was stolen from them. That's just that's like one of the biggest heists ever in history or something. It's just crazy.
Nobody noticed for some time, right?
Yeah. No, they said that it was actually hurt the hacker because the hacker had shorted the Axie Infinity stuff, and because they didn't know it happened for 5 days, it actually went up, and the guy who did this to short them actually got liquidated because he was hoping he would go down and he'd make a bunch more money, but no one knew about it and it went up, and the guy got liquidated from short selling the Axie stuff. So, I mean, I guess karma happens too to those guys.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So, I mean, when regards to set 3, the plan is obviously April 29th. Do we want to talk about what will be included in that launch? Because unless people are maybe tuning in for the first time, how many cards, how many rarities, how many packs, stuff like that. Is that stuff we discussed kind of openly at the time?
It's going to be our biggest one of all time. there's going to be something like 25 or 26 individual paintings, where before we had sort of variants of a single painting and there'd be less variation. But this one is going to be our biggest one ever, with stories on the back, and and more centered on the game, the card battle game. So we're really excited about it, and we're just waiting on a couple more assets. The animations are looking awesome, and then Gordon's got all his done, and put it all together and
lots more sketch cards, animated cards. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be a very diverse, very large, and then 3 packs. We're going to have 3 packs: base pack, a mid pack, and kind of an expensive pack.
Yeah. Have you set costs on those yet, like prices and stuff? Do we know, or
affordable for everyone?
Yeah, I mean, considering most NFTs out there, they will be there. They're one of the more affordable.
If you're a millionaire, we've got the pack for you. If you're just a regular person like us, we got the pack for you. So
yeah, everyone's got
it's been a long time coming, man. It's been a long time coming. I mean, I would love to like release a pack, basically once, or a set once a quarter, right? But we've just been focusing on all our other projects and games and everything else.
I mean, for about 20 or I don't know, for a long time we were releasing a card every Friday. But we just took a pause here for a few weeks while we just get the set 3 together, and people can save their wax up for the launch of the 3rd set.
I think with set 3 up and coming, and the funds we can collect from that, if it's what we project, then I think we have the capability now, because we're also contacting outsourcers and resource people outside of the company. I think with Felix and a couple of the guys I've pitched to Matt, I think there's an ability there to affordably bring people on to do cards and launch sets more frequently. Yeah.
I want to hire a lot more artists. I mean, to our guests, we hired our first illustrator on the project, and it was a lot of fun working with him, and it took a lot of extra load off my back. It wasn't all just me painting, right? I mean, you're in a very sweet spot right now. It's just you. You're just doing, your art, your awesome art, and making a side living on NFTs, or maybe that is your living. But having help definitely, is a good thing.
Yeah,
100%.
Definitely.
Where do you see your NFTs evolving? What would you like? What would be your dream scenario, Snarskis?
I think the dream scenario would be natural progression. So I wouldn't differentiate from like a physical art and digital art. If you're an artist, I think you should be appreciated in the same way. So if you would like to, become like amazing sculptor, famous, and do the shows, you could do this via digital space or physical space. So I think for me at the moment, I just want to progress personally, just become better, create cooler pieces that people just love it. And in the future, we'll see. I would be interested to enter like a VR spaces, perhaps to have little land where I can exhibit or launch parties or something like that. And maybe tap into like a 3D actual VR 3D painting, but I think it will be progression like 2023, 2024. But at the moment, I think I still need to improve a lot, and just natural progression with that.
Yeah, I think Web 3.0 with the metaverse being the talk of the town all over the world is showing a lot of promise. I mean, we had a meeting with a company called Dark Slope a few weeks ago, and they were highly excited about Apple potentially releasing some headwear for VR experience. I just like when the iPhone launched back in 2008, 2009, it changed the industry. I think that's what it's going to take, right? Is someone like Apple to just like launch their product,
do it properly,
create a platform for developers, and it just goes gangbusters. And then, fast forward 10, 20 years from now, we're all just basically living in the metaverse.
Absolutely. I think you need to have that perfect ecosystem like you had with the App Store. You have perfect device that it just works. You have the ecosystem where it makes sense, it's affordable, and also it makes sense for developers to put all this work and get on the platform. So I think once this is working like a perfect circulation, then it will be just a number one platform for sure.
I'm sure they'll want to take 30%.
or
I mean,
more.
or more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the space is definitely exciting in the fact that Apple, or the leaks have been, the rumors so far have been that they are entering the AR space. So it would be augmented reality as opposed to virtual reality, because they feel like that has more application for people, developers.
Yeah,
And
I
yeah.
actually saw there was a thing floating around from Apple of some internal development that they're creating, and it would be really useful for, like, let's say you're an electrician and you're like working with all these wires, and then AI or AR would kick in and digitally tag things and float them over wires, so you would know which one's which as you're doing a very technical job. Or plumbing, seeing like an entire schematic of where you are in the real through LiDAR, so that you know where things are supposed to connect, rather than looking on a blueprint, physical blueprint. It's like all in your peripheral. Be kind of an amazing technology.
I've always thought augmented reality would be safer and more fun than VR, because I mean, you got to have a safe space in VR to really move around, whereas augmented reality, you could go out in the woods with your friends and do like a gun battle or do anything where you're using trees and rocks that are actually there, and they're just, something's altered about it that you can only see through your headset. Yeah.
I think VR has its own positives away from AR, because it also creates worlds where you lose yourself in, like even just revisiting old video games in it and seeing those worlds for the first time, and your eyes in front of you. Like, Capcom recently released Resident Evil 4. They remade it for the Oculus Quest, and obviously they've also had success with the Star Wars games like Tales from Galaxy's Edge. So there's ways you can go into those worlds that you can't in AR. But I think at one point there will I think in the future there'll be a hybrid where those worlds will come in to where you're standing and looking, and those characters will come in as well, but they'll be fully formed 3D characters and stuff like that, with standing in your bedroom, stuff like that. So yeah, I think that the future's exciting for that stuff, even for galleries and displaying artwork, and be able to walk about museums where they could constantly change the paintings and sculptures, but obviously whatever you're wearing glass wise would just change what you see. That's a huge application as well for art. So
I'm waiting. I've been thinking about this dream for a long time, of where I can sit at my desk with my Cintiq. I can paint digitally, but I put the VR on, and my reference monitor, my desk, and my Cintiq are all being projected in VR, right? So I'm in real time seeing what I'm doing, but my entire world is no longer this room. It's like a field with like a waterfall in the distance, and I'm hearing birds chirp, and the sun's, changing over the course of the day while I'm working, and deer are walking by, and I mean, that would just be, such a way more immersive experience, rather than just sitting in an office all day. And just
honestly, if you invest in an Oculus Quest at one point, Matt, I don't know what they're going to announce this year, but like there's parts of that are not too far removed from what you're talking about. There's a virtual desktop setting within Oculus that Facebook have brought in, where you can bring your desk into VR space, so you can scan it, and then when you sit and put your hands down, you're physically touching your desk, and you can bring monitors in and float them in front of you, where you've got a virtual background in the back. So we're not 100 miles away from there yet.
Yeah.
So Snarskis, what kind of equipment do you use to digitally paint?
At the moment, now I go straight into Corel Painter and Photoshop. So basically, Painter is really good for the brushes, and it gives you a bit of that physical aspect, because you can use a bit of watercolor where you paint and then you can see it dry it very quickly. So, and also it very nicely overlays the colors. Before, I used to start on the paper, take a picture, crop it, and work this way. But now I just straight into the Corel Painter, and then on the Photoshop I do the last touches, like shadows and just very last bits.
Oh, so you would actually physically draw something, take a picture of it, and input it in before?
Yes, depending of the project and what's required. If the shape is simpler, I just draw straight away with my tablet. If I want to play around on paper, I do that in using a marker to have like a bold lines where it's easier to crop later, and then put a composition into actual workspace. Normally use like a square, which is a nice for Instagram or Twitter, and then that's the workflow.
I actually have another question here. We talked about a little bit about the metaverse, but where do you think, Snarkis, NFTs are going and the future of NFTs in general? Where do you see that going based on your experiences?
I think it could become, from all the aspects, from all the industries, so kind of like a QR code. So it could be your ticket to anything. It could be your travel ticket, monthly ticket, yearly ticket for bus, for train, plane. It could be ticket to concert, restaurant subscription, Starbucks NFT, where you just come in there and you just grab your coffee. So I think overall it will become such an easy technology that is part of your wallet, part of your life, and it's literally like a QR code during the COVID. And it's gonna be perhaps in a few years that NFTs are the easiest way, where you cut the middleman, where you can bleep it, MasterCard, Visa, from the transactions, and it just does peer-to-peer interaction and exchanging the currency. So I think not only from the art perspective, but from more how bigger population could use it, it will become like a new QR code.
It would be amazing if we could cut out
receipt.
Just the Ticketmaster. I watched this whole thing on John Oliver about tickets and how it's such a scam. So if there's a way that an artist could sell their own tickets, I mean, Ticketmaster still will block you out of certain venues if you don't use them. But it was shocking to me how even like Justin Bieber, he scalps his own tickets. Like they only allow like maybe 10% of the tickets to go on sale to the public. And then he'll release a big portion as secondary tickets, and jack the price up. The actual artists do that.
That these economies actually exist and you have no idea. You think that they're so free and they can do whatever they want, but you're restrained with like a venues, with the middleman who's making transactions, organizers, and so on, so on, so on. But now in the future, you can organize something like that. You rent the stadium, you do like something Polygon transactions that doesn't require gas fees, right? And
it kind of reminded me of Ethereum. When I went to a 49er American football game. They charged me like $200 in fees just to buy the ticket, like in addition to the price of the ticket. It kind of reminds me of Ethereum. When you do a transaction, you got to pay $100, $200 fee. Whereas
That's
we're on the wax blockchain.
It kind of feels good because you give back for the community, kind of like you're moving the economy.
But either that or you're helping someone to buy a yacht.
We're on the worldwide asset. We're on the Wax blockchain, which it was designed for NFTs, and so there's no fees whatsoever when you transfer back and forth people. So it's still got kind of a marketing problem too. People just don't understand how beneficial the Wax blockchain is compared to Ethereum. So it's just a battle. It's there's a war and there's a battle.
Education. It will be more complicated because as new technologies comes in, people love to hear number one, number two. Then you have a few scams coming in, and then you have again legit projects in the game, and people are just scared. They don't know why it's different than the other rug pull. So it's kind of like a gold and silver. Like people know that, they're confident. So Bitcoin and Ethereum, you still have those people who very progressive, but then they get to the certain age that okay, it's Bitcoin and Ethereum, I don't understand these ape coins or anything else, and it could be just a legit project, but you on that mindset, that's it, it's for other people.
I think it's also dangerous with new technology how people can become so 1 and 0 within this world. I mean, like the fact that I know, speaking to Carla Ortiz, who's a really great artist, and she's entered that space of working with NFT partners now as well. And the same even talking with Scott Robertson, but the fact that, these people are now getting like death threats because we're working on Ethereum blockchain or they're working with an NFTs is ridiculous. I think people need to really take a look at themselves if they're sending. I mean, it's a vocal minority, it's not everybody.
Oh,
but
yeah.
The fact that people still will do that because Carla's obviously well vetted at this point in the industry and doesn't really take heed to a lot of this stuff and laughs it off. But the wrong person gets the other end of a comment like that, and it can really affect your mental health. So I mean, I think people need to understand that even though there's a carbon offset, to the Ethereum blockchain, at the same time it's a new technology. It's still being developed. There will be things that can also carbon offset. So there's always an outcome. I think someone told me that like the collective of America's Christmas tree lights is more impactful on the earth than like 6 months of Ethereum trading. So it's
Right.
like, you know, there's always
or just a day, a world day capture of credit card transactions is enough to probably eclipse anything that any one blockchain is affecting the environment. I think, you know, from my perspective, I do think there's some form of jealousy going on where you've got, you know, people like us that are diving into this, finding success because, you know, we've done the research, we're in this deep, right? And then you have other people that are like, oh, I want to get in, but I don't know how. And I'm just going to say, you guys are a bunch of idiots and, you know, you're screwing up the environment. It's like, it's a pretty cheap perspective to like do that kind of sort of thing.
Any legacy system is going to spread. It's called FUD. It stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So especially in the crypto world, there's just all this information saying, oh my God, Bitcoin's going to crash. NFTs are killing the environment. Like there's just all these people who, I mean, if you look at the traditional art world, I mean, it's very hard to even know that you're actually getting a painting from whoever it is they say it is. Whereas with NFTs, you know where the wallet was that the owner of that is, the day it was made. You know, so it's kind of disrupting that whole art world. And it's the same with like Tesla. There'll be one Tesla car fire and it's in the news. But I mean, traditional cars, there's probably like 10,000 fires in regular cars per day. But they never talk about that. It's just they put that one in the news to scare people.
Right.
About
it's emerging.
Yeah, we're not really the bad people in this equation. I mean, I had to talk with my partner the other day about how, you know, the fact that I find funny that, you know, I've been vegan for the last, you know, 7 or 8 years now and plant-based, and I recycle. I try to be as conscious as I can about the environment, about where I buy things and the products I buy and put in my home. So, you know, I can do that for, you know, 50 plus years of my life. But if any, you know, Esson Gas or BP, they have a leak and they spoil, you know, like a whole landmass or put like 50 liters of oil in the ocean, like it totally offsets, you know, my entire life being vegan and plant-based. Like, you know, you can only do so much at this point.
Right.
I don't think the emphasis is on us to be that financially responsible. It really goes to the bigger guys at the very top, corporations, huge companies. That's the carbon offset you really want to attack, not people like us who are basically trying to feed their families, you know, to you know, because Matt and Rolf put everything they have into this. They have kids, they have a family, they have mortgages. They want to, you know, offset that so that they can basically live a good life and provide for their kids. And I think it's one of these things where, you know, the hate is it's misguided. It shouldn't be aimed towards us. So, yeah.
We're excited, though, for the future here. Things are looking like, you know, after year one, it's, I feel like we're in a better place than we were with things about to pop. We're up to 37 minutes here. Should we kind of wrap it up?
Close it out? Yeah. Well, so I guess it was great having you on. We'll have you on again, I'm sure, in the future. Good luck with continued success with all your amazing art. And, you know, Ethereum, we'll make sure the fans get a link to your website in our podcast drop. Definitely. And yeah, thanks for sharing your time with us, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It was nice to meet you.
Yeah. You too. All right, guys, for everyone out there that is enjoying the NFTs, good luck. Thank you. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, definitely. Aloha. If you guys have any questions or anything about Set 3, you can check down in the links. You can join our Discord and you can discuss it there. We're usually quite active talking about the next set. So
yeah, please. Great. Any questions you guys got?
April 29th. All right. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.